State Superintendent of Schools Jill Underly says a boost in education funding still falls short in addressing a teacher shortage and the needs of schools' facilities statewide. Underly delivered her third State of Education address at the state capitol and criticized the GOP's efforts to limit the teaching of racism's history and impacts in schools. She also called out the emphasis on test scores as markers of student success.
They want their schools to be places where they can study complicated histories, have meaningful discussions, and learn how to be involved citizens in a world that grows more diverse by the day.
The state's two-year budget includes a $1 billion funding increase for schools, which is significantly less than the $2.6 billion originally proposed by Governor Tony Evers.